Okay, I'm going to show you how to bring in some of the files that you're going to need in creating this composition for the banner assignment. What you'll notice is I have two documents open here. First is the document I created according to the specifications. Then I also have open the sample document. I'm going to be referring to the sample document as I build my document. I also recommend that you build your document from the bottom up as you see it here in the sample document. To do that, I am going to turn off all the eyeballs of all the layers except the textured background layer. I'm going to start building there. In my document, you'll notice I have a white background layer. At some point in time, I can delete that if I choose to do that. But from the bottom up, I'm going to first bring in the textured background source image. To do that, I go to the File menu, choose Open. I navigate to that. I find the textured background.jpg and I open it up. The next thing I'm going to do is bring this image into my document. The easiest way I can suggest you do that is go to the layer, click and drag that layer, hover it over the tab of your document. Once your document activates, then drop that layer right in the middle of your document. As you can see, that layer comes over as a new layer in your document. The next thing I would recommend you do is you close that source image. You don't need it anymore. If it stays open, it'll just use additional memory you don't need it using. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a smart object, right click, convert to smart object. Then I'm going to name the layer textured background. This is what you should be doing on almost every source file that you bring in. Same sort of process. Drag the layer, drop it, create a smart object, name the layer. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to position it, size, transform it, whatever I need to do in order to look like the source document. So I'm going to get a view of that. I notice that there's that little crease in the bottom corner. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to target the layer, grab the move tool and move it around. Now when I move it around, you'll notice that this thing wants to snap into place. See those magenta lines and how it's just sort of snapping? I typically don't like that. You might like it, but sometimes it can cause us a little bit of a problem. Sometimes I like it because I'm trying to line things up. In this case, I'm going to turn it off. I do so by hitting the View menu and unchecking Snap. Now, another thing you might not know, but I'm going to share with you right now, is I can move things around with little pixel movements by just using the arrow keys. Clicking or tapping the arrow key down, you'll notice I'm moving the image down. Tapping it up, I move the image up. So I moved it down and up to compare with the original image. It doesn't need to be pixel perfect, but as you can see, I'm pretty close with the background. So what I'm going to do next is in the sample image, turn on the next layer, and I'm going to turn off the previous layer just for a second so that I can see how this is positioned and sized in the sample document. Going back to my original document, I'm going to go from the File menu, Open, and I'm going to go get that scroll overlay. When I go get that scroll overlay, I'm going to do what I did before, drag the background layer to my document, drop it, and you can see there it is. I'm going to create a smart object. I'm going to name it scroll overlay and then close that. Now I'm going to compare it with this example document and you'll notice a couple of things. One, it's positioned differently. So it's positioned over here. And the other thing you're going to notice is it's been rotated in an angle. So I'm going to do that as well. Command T, free transform. I'm going to rotate that a bit, hit the return key. Like I said, it doesn't need to be absolutely perfect, but it needs to be fairly close. I also sort of see something here, and it looks like it's a little bit smaller. So I'm going to Command T, and I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. I'm going to zoom out, Command minus, make this a little bit smaller from this angle here. Hit the return key, Command plus, zoom up, make a comparison, move it up some, and it's almost there. I'm going to rotate it a little bit back. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, hit the return key, and I'm getting there pretty close. You can dial it in, but I'm pretty close now. The next thing you'll notice on the source, this layer here, is it's got a layer mask. Remember that I painted on it, and also notice it's got an overlay blending mode. So I got to take that into consideration. Now I'm going to turn the background on. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to make my blending mode overlay. So now you can see I've got the same effect going on. I just have to create the layer mask and paint on the layer mask. So to do that, target that scroll overlay layer, add the layer mask, grab a black paintbrush, dial down the opacity of the brush, and here I'm going to dial it down to say something like 40. I'm going to come back here and check, and you can see that what I tried to do is just smooth out the edges right here, giving it sort of a curved shape here. So I'm going to come back to this with the paintbrush. I'm painting with black over here on the layer mask. I'm clicking and dragging and just kind of cleaning that, softening that edge up. And that's really all you need to do. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect. And I probably had my opacity a little bit too high on that. So it's not hard at all. I can bring some of that back. I just switch colors and paint with white, and you notice white brings some of it back. I can also give myself more flexibility by dialing down the opacity. It doesn't affect it as much. So I'm going to go back to black, and I'm going to just slowly but dial some of this in. There you can see that's fine. I check it with the original. I'm very, very close there. That's all you really need to do for this assignment. Next layer up is the grunge veins. So there it is. You'll notice that it's a normal blending mode. The opacity is 50%. So here I'm going back to my original. I'm going to choose File, Open. I'm going to find those grunge veins. There they are. Open them up. I'm going to do what I did before, drop them into my document, and you'll notice they come in as black. So I'm going to create Smart Object. I'm going to name it Grunge Veins. And I'm going to take a look, I'm going to close it. Then I'm going to take a look at the original and notice its position. So it's over there on the left-hand side. Ooh, wrong layer. Undo. Target the grunge veins. Oh, it's still happening. What is going on? Oh, yeah. Up here in the auto select, it's auto selecting whatever I click on. I don't want it to do that. I want to decide what layer I'm working with. I'm going to uncheck that auto select, target the grunge veins layer. Now I can click and drag, and that's going to move like I want it to move. You'll notice now I position it over there. I'm pretty close to the position. And the next thing you'll notice is the grunge veins layer is white, and it's dialed down an opacity of 50%. How did it get white? Well, look, there's a layer effect called Color Overlay. I double click that to see what it is. Oh, it's normal white 100%. Color Overlay. Got it. Gonna go to mine, target that layer, add the layer effect, Color Overlay, white 100%, hit OK, and I remember it's 50%. There we go. Dialed that in, double check, taking a look. Whoa, I'm getting really good at this. Next up, the design text, add that. The color bar, add that. Now that's going to come in really big. So you're going to have to figure out how to resize it. I suggest you just Command minus zoom way out till you can see the whole bar, resize it, and then you can zoom up again. That's how I would do it. Remember, as you go and add each layer though, make sure that before you move it, before you rotate it, before you do anything to it, you create a smart object and you name the layer. There really isn't anything else in here that is different than what we've already done. The top ornament comes in, and then there's the bottom ornament. It is the same image, just sized and rotated. Also, make sure you check to be sure about the opacity and the blending mode of each layer. The top bar and the bottom bar are just rectangle shapes. The text, if you want to know what font is used on the text, double click on the text and you come right up here and you can see in the options bar it's Times Roman bold 37.42 points. You can dial that in exactly. Hopefully you've got enough information to complete this, and just let me know if you have any problems. I'm happy to help.